This is Chapter 13 summary from October Sky. All right, so it starts out in January 1958. One day, Homer wakes up to see snow outside the house. He's able to get on the bus and he notices that his friend Roy Lee is practicing his speech assignment for school. Coretta Smith gets on the bus. Roy Lee and Homer perk up. Coretta isn't stunningly beautiful, but she has an attractive body. She sits next to Homer, or Sonny, sorry. And the school bus goes on. At one point, the driver orders everyone to get off so he can safely go around a very narrow turn without hurting the students. As a result, Sonny and his friends are about an hour late to school. When Sonny arrives in chemistry, Miss Riley tells him that she has a surprise for him and that he should come back to her room for the end of the day. Unfortunately, he forgets about it and goes ahead and gets on the bus and heads home. And school's out. The next day, the buses aren't running, meaning that Sonny and his friends are stuck at home, so they decide to go sledding around Big Creek. When Sonny is in with range of school, he remembers that he was supposed to meet up with Miss Riley the day before, and even though school is canceled, Miss Riley is there in her classroom. He's able to get in. She then presents him with a big book called Principles of Guided Missile Design. Miss Riley is very excited to give him this book because she actually ordered it just for the BCMA. Homer is dazzled by the book and he flips through it, noticing the complicated math and design. Inspired by the wonderful gift, he agrees to finally join the science fair under her guidance. Remember, at this time, it was not normal for everybody or any of the kids actually to go to the science fair. Usually their science experiments were not quite up to par with the other schools. Finally, Sonny is realizing, oh, we do have something going on here at the Rockets. Sonny leaves the school and rejoins his friends, who are still sledding in the area. Roy Lee announces that he's going to Emily Sue's house to play cards. Sonny agrees to go along and he finds out Dorothy's there. Even though he oddly noticed his friend Roy Lee giving her the eye and lay off, dude. Sonny then gets into an argument with Roy Lee and he convinces Dorothy that Dorothy does love him. Eventually they agree to test the theory if Dorothy will kiss him or not. Sonny asks her. At first he kind of knows. She says no, but then she gives in and she gives him one peck on the forehead and then one peck on the mouth. So it's just real quick and easy. Not a sign of love, if you ask me. Sonny is disappointed, but hey, at least he got a free kiss, right? After a few hours of playing cards, Sonny and his friends decide to leave, or Homer's friends, Sonny's friends, decide to leave, but Sonny stays back and waits for Dorothy's mom to get there to pick her up. Dorothy then comes out of hiding. Homer apologizes. He feels kind of crummy for putting her in that spot. But then he shows her the book, and Dorothy is actually very excited. Remember, Dorothy is actually a pretty smart girl, and she's getting a lot of this math that even sometimes Homer doesn't get. So she's excited to see the book. She wants to learn calculus also. Emily Sue then tells Dorothy that her mother is on her way to pick her up. Dorothy and Sonny step outside, and as she's getting ready to climb inside the car, Dorothy gives Homer a real kiss on the lips. She tells him that she doesn't know what to do or what she'd do without him. Homer is officially stunned by this development. Again, this is kind of Dorothy dangling the carrot in front of Sonny because she's not actually wanting to go out with him. She's not actually spending a lot of her free time with him, but yet she knows he's a good friend and she trusts and respects him, but just he's officially friend-zoned. He's the official friend-zoner. Sonny is excited from Dorothy's kiss, and he starts making his way home by sled. So he's going again through the hills on the sled. But after a while, the snow becomes too wet, and it stops him from going much farther. As night falls, he remembers hearing a lot of stories about explorers freezing to death in the cold. Fearing the worst, he comes to an old, broken down, dilapidated house. He decides to knock on the door. To his surprise, a lady answers the door. It's a middle-aged woman that actually lets him inside the house. Sonny explains what he's doing and trying to get back to Coldwood. The woman replies to him that he can't go any further. She's aware of just how unbelievably cold it is outside and dangerous. Inside the mysterious woman's house, the woman asks Sonny to remove his cold, wet clothes. At first, he's like, no, I don't know you. But then she introduces herself as Geneva Edgars, and he ends up taking his clothes off and kind of hiding behind a sheet that she is holding up to divide the house. I remember the house is very broken down. She even tells him, it's okay, you can get undressed. You don't have anything I haven't seen. If that doesn't tell you a little bit more about what kind of person she actually is. She explains that she actually knew Sonny's dad for many years, and that that his dad was a big deal to her. As the two of them eat, because Geneva fixed him dinner, she explains that she used to play with Sonny's dad when she was a child. She knows Homer as a kind, generous, and heroic figure. That's a big point we'll find out more later on. After Sonny finishes eating, Geneva sends him on his way, after his clothes are all warm. She helps him bundle back up and then send him on his way. But she adds that Sonny should tell his dad Geneva said hi, but don't let Elsie, his mom, know that he was at her house. Again, what kind of lady is this person? Geneva and Sonny walk outside into the snow. Sonny sees a big dump truck, and he decides to latch on and sled his way home. When he gets home, he finds Jim and Dad waiting for him. And when he's alone with Dad for a little while, he shows him the book that Miss Riley gave him and tells him that he was at Geneva's house and she took care of him. Dad seems disturbed by this news, especially as Sonny lets him, even as Sonny tells his dad she helped him warm up his clothes. Homer goes to bed confused by his dad's reaction, because his dad knows that he went to Geneva's house, but is uneasy or kind of irritated by it. He's like, Dad, she fed me, she wore my clothes, it's not a big deal. Find out a little more later. The next evening, Dad sits down with Homer and tells him the story of how he knows Geneva. When Sonny was in his early teens, there was a house fire in the neighboring house. So in other words, they grew up pretty close together. Dad ran into the house and was shocked to find a baby lying in the midst of a fire. Dad quickly ran out of the house carrying the baby. It was only later that Sonny's dad learns there were 10 people in the house all asleep, and that all 10 of those people died. So that means it was Geneva's mom, it was Geneva's dad, it was Geneva's brothers and sisters were all killed in this fire, and his dad only got her out. Which I know in some ways that sounds really bad, but in this town there were no firemen, there were no fire trucks. Geneva was very lucky to get out alive. Then Homer goes on to explain that Geneva is known as a girl of life, and Homer seems to then explains that Geneva is a friend to the bachelors and the married men around town. He tells Homer to never ever, or he tells Sonny to never ever go to Geneva's house again, and that he should never tell his mom about it either. So, she is a lady of the night, you can read between the lines there, and she likes to hang out with married men and the bachelors around town. Shortly after, Homer rides the bus past Geneva's house. Though they see each other and they smile, he doesn't wave to her and she doesn't wave to him. Again, that understanding of their different ways of life, but he now has a new respect for his father. And that's about all that comes from chapter 13.